Hulk Hogan, born August 11, 1953, passed July 24, 2025, was an iconic American professional wrestler. Best known for his work with the World Wrestling Federation WWF, now WWE, and World Championship Wrestling WC. With his larger-than-life persona, massive frame, trademark, blonde horseshoe mustache, and ever-present bandanas, Hogan became the most recognizable wrestling superstar in the world. Hogan launched his wrestling career in 1977, but it wasn't until signing with the WWF in December 1983 that he shot to global fame. His all-American heroic character helped fuel the 1980s wrestling boom. He went on to headline 8 of the first 9 WrestleMania events. Hogan was also a staple of Saturday night's main event and the main event. During his legendary first run, he became a 5-time WWF champion, holding the title for a record-setting 1,474 days, still the third longest reign in WWE history. He was also the first wrestler to win back-to-back Royal Rumble matches in 1990 and 1991. In 1993, Hogan left the WWF to explore a career in film and television, but returned to the ring in 1994 with rival promotion WCW. There he captured the WCW World Heavyweight Championship 6 times, setting the record for the longest reign in the title's history. In 1996, Hogan reinvented himself as the villainous Hollywood Hogan and formed the revolutionary New World Order Unwell Stable. This move helped ignite the Monday Night Wars and ushered in another wrestling boom. Headline Starrcade WCW flagship pay-per-view 3 times, including the 1997 edition, the company's most profitable show ever. Hogan rejoined the WWF in 2002 after it acquired WCW, and briefly held the undisputed WWF Championship, tying the record with his 6th reign. He departed in 2003 and was later honored with 2 inductions into the WWE Hall of Fame. First as a solo performer in 2005, again in 2020 as part of the NWO. Beyond WWF and WCW, Hogan also wrestled for the American Wrestling Association AWA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he became the first IWGP Heavyweight Champion. In total non-stop action wrestling TNA. Outside the ring, Hogan had a successful entertainment career. He made his acting debut in Rocky III 1982 and went on to star in films like No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, and Mr. Nanny. He also appeared in TV shows including Thunder in Paradise, China Ill, and the reality series Hogan Knows Best. His name extended into pop culture through video games, commercials, and even music. His album, Hulk Rules, with the wrestling boot band hit No. 12 on Billboard's Top Kid Audio chart in 1995. Hulk Hogan's legacy as a wrestling icon, pop culture figure, trailblazer remains unmatched. Early life and beginnings of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was born Terry Jean Belia on August 11, 1953. In Augusta, Georgia, to Pietro Peter Belia, a construction foreman, and Ruth V. Moody, a homemaker and dance teacher, of Italian, Panamanian, Scottish, and French descent. Hogan's roots trace back to his paternal grandfather, Pietro, who was born in 1886 in Cigliano, province of Vercelli, in Italy's Piedmont region. When Terry was just a year and a half old, the family relocated to Port Tampa, Florida, where he would spend most of his childhood. He had one older brother, Alan Belia, 1947 to 1986, who tragically passed away from a drug overdose at age 38. As a child, Hogan showed early promise as a Little League baseball pitcher and later attended Robinson High School. Around the age of 16, he became fascinated by professional wrestling, regularly attending shows at the Tampa Sportatorium. He idolized Dusty Rhodes and was especially captivated by superstar Billy Graham. His larger-than-life physique inspired Hogan to pursue a similar inhuman look before stepping into the wrestling world. Hogan had aspirations in music. He spent nearly 10 years as a fretless bass guitarist, performing in various Florida-based rock bands. He enrolled at Hillsborough Community College and later attended the University of South Florida, but eventually dropped out as music gigs started interfering with his education in 1976. Hogan formed a band called Ruckus with 2 local musicians, The group quickly gained popularity in the Tampa Bay area, often performing at bars frequented by professional wrestlers from the regional circuit. Two notable attendees were Jack and Gerald Briscoe, both prominent names in Florida wrestling. Impressed by Hogan's towering frame and physical presence, the Briscoe brothers recommended him to legendary trainer Hiro Matsuda, who worked with Championship Wrestling from Florida CWF. Initially, Hogan hesitated but eventually agreed to train. However, his entry into wrestling wasn't smooth. Mike Graham, the son of CWF promoter Eddie Graham, initially refused to give Hogan a chance, partly due to personal friction dating back to their high school days. Undeterred, Hogan left Ruckus and openly declared his intent to become a wrestler. This persistence finally convinced Mike Graham to give him a shot. Training under Matsuda was brutal. During Hogan's very first session, Matsuda deliberately broke his leg, a harsh initiation tactic used to test commitment. Next 10 weeks in recovery, then returned to training. When Matsuda attempted the same move again, Hogan blocked it, proving his determination. This moment marked the beginning of what would become one of the most iconic careers in wrestling history. Early wrestling career. 1977-1979, after more than a year of rigorous training under Hiro Matsuda, Terry Bollea was finally ready to step into the professional wrestling ring. In mid-1977, the Briscoe brothers dropped by Matsuda's gym to check on Hogan's progress. During the visit, Jack Briscoe handed him a pair of wrestling boots and informed him that his debut was scheduled for the following week. On August 10, 1977, in Fort Myers, Florida, Hogan made his professional wrestling debut for Championship Wrestling from Florida CWF. In a match booked by Eddie Graham against Brian Blair, not long after, he wrestled under a mask as the Super Destroyer, a mysterious hooded persona previously used by other wrestlers, most notably Don Jardine. However, Hogan's relationship with Matsuda soured. He found the trainer overly strict and domineering. Disenchanted, Hogan left CWF and turned down an offer from the Kansas City territory. He briefly stepped away from wrestling and took a job managing the Anchor Club, a private club in Cocoa Beach, Florida, owned by Whitey Bridges. The two became close friends and eventually opened Whitey and Terry's Olympic Gym together. Around this time, Hogan's friend Ed Leslie, later known to fans as Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, joined him in Cocoa Beach. The two worked together at the gym and began intense training sessions. Hogan noticed Leslie's developing physique and believed they could succeed as a tag team. Still yearning for the ring, Hogan reached out in 1978 to his idol superstar Billy Graham, asking for help in getting back into the business. Graham came through, connecting Hogan with Louis Tillett's Alabama territory. Hogan agreed and persuaded Leslie, who had no prior in-ring experience, to join him. Hogan promised to teach him the ropes himself. In Alabama, the two debuted as Terry and Ed Boulder, collectively known as the Boulder Brothers. Their convincing team chemistry and similar appearances led many fans to believe they were actual brothers, a rumor that stuck due to their limited exposure outside the region there. Fortunes took a turn when they wrestled a show for Jerry Jarrett's Continental Wrestling Association (CWA) in Memphis. Jarrett, impressed with the duo, offered them $800 a week, a significant jump from the $175 they were making under Tillett. Hogan and Leslie quickly accepted the offer. While in Memphis, Hogan appeared on a local talk show alongside Lou Ferrigno, the star of The Incredible Hulk, standing at 6 feet 7 inches and weighing nearly 300 pounds. Hogan towered over Ferrigno. Backstage, Mary Jarrett, Jerry's wife, noticed Hogan was physically even more imposing than Ferrigno, and this sparked an idea. Soon after, Bollea began performing under the name Terry the Hulk Boulder. Around this time, he also occasionally used the ring name Sterling Golden. On December 1, 1979, Hogan captured his first professional championship, winning the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship Northern Division in Knoxville, Tennessee, by defeating Bob Roop. However, his reign was short-lived. He dropped the title just a month later to Bob Armstrong. Later in 1979, Hogan had a brief stint with Georgia Championship Wrestling (GCW), performing under the name Sterling Golden from September to December. These formative years laid the foundation for what would soon become one of the most iconic careers in the history of professional wrestling. Breaking into the WWF 1979, 1980. In the fall of 1979, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Terry Funk introduced Terry Bollea to Vincent J. McMahon, the owner and promoter of the World Wrestling Federation WWF. McMahon was immediately struck by Bollea's commanding presence and charisma. Wanting to give him a marketable ring identity, McMahon insisted on an Irish-sounding name, came up with Hogan. He also suggested Bollea dye his hair red to match the Irish theme. But Bollea, whose hair was already beginning to thin, declined the request and simply replied, "I'll be a blonde Irish." With that, Hulk Hogan was born. Hogan made his WWF debut under his new name on November 17, 1979, defeating Harry Valdez on an episode of Championship Wrestling. Just a month later, on December 17th, he made his Madison Square Garden debut, defeating Ted DiBiase with a bear hug. After the match, Hogan reportedly thanked DiBiase backstage, telling him he owed him a debt he would later repay during DiBiase's run as the $1 Million Man. In the late 1980s and early 90s, to help Hogan navigate the company, McMahon assigned former tag team champion Tony Altamari as his mentor and chaperone. During this early WWF stint, Hogan wrestled Bob Backlund in a match for the WWF Championship, though he didn't win the title. More importantly, this period marked the beginning of his first major rivalry with none other than Andre the Giant. Their feud culminated in a marquee match at Shea Stadium in August 1980, further boosting Hogan's profile. In this initial WWF run, Hogan played the role of a villain, managed by the legendary classy Freddie Blassie, a former wrestler who had transitioned into a heel manager role. Blassie's over-the-top style and Hogan's imposing presence made them an effective and menacing pair. This early exposure to national wrestling audiences set the stage for Hogan's transformation into the global icon he would soon become. Hogan's career in New Japan Pro Wrestling, 1980 to 1984. 1980, while still working with the WWF, Hulk Hogan began wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling in JPW, where he quickly became a fan favorite. Japanese audiences affectionately nicknamed him Ichiban, Ifen, meaning number one, a reflection of both his popularity and his in-ring presence. Hogan made his JPW debut on May 13, 1980, and continued to tour Japan intermittently over the next several years. During these appearances, squared off against a wide array of opponents, including Japanese legends like Tatsumi Fujinami and international brawlers like Abdullah the Butcher. Unlike his American wrestling persona, which relied heavily on power moves and crowd-driven brawling, Hogan showcased a more technical and traditional style in Japan. He used submission holds, grapples, and chain wrestling techniques that surprised many fans who knew him only from his WWF run. In Japan, his finishing move was the Axe Bomber, a powerful lariat delivered with a crooked arm instead of his signature running leg drop used in the US. Despite his commitment to NJPW, Hogan still made occasional appearances for the WWF. Notably, on March 26, 1981, he unsuccessfully challenged Pedro Morales for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. One of Hogan's most significant achievements in Japan came on June 2, 1983, when he became the first ever winner of the International Wrestling Grand Prix IWGP tournament, defeating the legendary Antonio Inoki by knockout in the final. This victory earned him the original IWGP Heavyweight Championship, a title that, at the time, was defended annually against the winner of that year's IWGP League tournament. This version of the title would later evolve into NJPW's current IWGP Heavyweight Championship, defended on a regular basis. Hogan and Inoki also worked together as a tag team. The duo won the prestigious MSG Madison Square Garden Tag League Tournament in both 1982 and 1983, cementing their legacy as one of the top international teams of that era. In 1984, Hogan returned to NJPW to defend his IWGP title against Inoki, who had won the IWGP League and earned the position of #1 contender. In a match marred by interference from Riki Choshu, Hogan lost the title via countout, making Inoki the new champion. Despite the loss, Hogan was the only wrestler in the history of that version of the IWGP title to receive a title shot without first winning the tournament. Before wrapping up his NJPW run, Hogan continued to defend his WWF World Heavyweight Championship in Japan against top stars such as Seiji Sakaguchi and Fujinami. His final match during this tour took place in Nagoya on June 13, 1984, where he again lost to Inoki via countout in a high-stakes IWGP title match. American Wrestling Association. AWA, 1981, 1983. After accepting a role in the film Rocky III, Hulk Hogan faced backlash from WWF promoter Vincent J. McMahon, who disapproved of the decision and subsequently released Hogan from the company. With his wrestling future uncertain, Hogan landed in the American Wrestling Association, AWA, owned by Vern Gainey, making his debut in August 1981, initially cast as a villain. Hogan was paired with flamboyant manager Luscious Johnny Valiant. However, this heel role didn't last long. The fans quickly rallied behind Hogan's charisma, size, and star power, turning him into the top fan favorite in the AWA. He soon began feuding with the Heenan family, led by Bobby Heenan, and particularly with AWA World Champion Nick Bockwinkel. Official face turn came in July 1981 during a televised taping. After Jerry Blackwell lost a match to Brad Ringans, he launched a brutal post-match assault. Multiple wrestlers tried to intervene but were overpowered until Hogan ran in, took control, and chased Blackwell out of the ring. This heroic moment marked Hogan's full transformation into a beloved crowd favorite. He went on to defeat Blackwell in their ensuing rivalry and earned his first title opportunities against Nick Bockwinkel by the end of the year. In March 1982, Hogan gained momentum by defeating Bockwinkel and his manager Bobby Heenan in a non-title handicap match at the International Amphitheater in Chicago, Illinois. From there, he continued challenging Bockwinkel for the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. But most of these matches ended in disqualifications, which meant the title did not change hands. In April 1982, Hogan finally appeared to capture the AWA World Heavyweight title by defeating Bockwinkel. However, AWA President Stanley Blackburn controversially overturned the decision, citing Hogan's use of a foreign object during the match. The move infuriated fans and built further sympathy for Hogan. His popularity was rapidly eclipsing the AWA itself. Despite being the promotion's biggest draw, Hogan's push toward the championship remained stalled due to internal politics and Ghani's reluctance to put the title on someone outside his preferred mold of technical wrestler. Frustrated, Hogan quit the AWA in November 1983, reportedly sending his resignation via letter. First, Gainey dismissed it as a prank until Hogan failed to show up for scheduled appearances, confirming that he had truly walked away. This departure paved the way for Hogan's return to the WWF, where his stardom would explode on a global scale. Return to WWF and the birth of Hulkamania. 1983. 1984, after Vincent J. McMahon purchased the WWF from his father in 1982, he set his sights on transforming the regional promotion into a nationwide entertainment powerhouse. To lead that charge, he needed a charismatic, larger-than-life figure, and he knew exactly who fit the bill: Hulk Hogan. Hogan made his return to the WWF on December 27, 1983, at a TV taping in St. Louis, Missouri, where he easily defeated Bill Dixon. Less than 2 weeks later, on the January 7, 1984 episode of Championship Wrestling, Hogan firmly cemented his babyface status by saving Bob Backlund from a 3-on-1 attack by the Wild Samoans. For any fans unfamiliar with Hogan's 1981 face turn in the AWA, this moment reintroduced him as a hero. Backlund explained the sudden change in character, saying, "He's changed his ways. He's a great man. He told me he's not going to have Blassie around anymore." The timing was crucial. Just 16 days later, on January 23, 1984, Hogan faced the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Garden and won his first WWF World Heavyweight Championship. The storyline portrayed Hogan as a last-minute replacement for an injured Bob Backlund, and the victory was framed as historic. Hogan was the first man to ever escape the Sheik's feared finishing move, the camel clutch. As the crowd erupted, commentator Gorilla Monsoon famously declared, "Hulkamania is here." From that moment, a pop culture phenomenon was born. Hogan quickly built a deep connection with fans, calling them his Hulkamaniacs, and preaching his now legendary 3 Demandments. Train hard, say your prayers, eat your vitamins later. During a feud with Earthquake in 1990, 4th Demandment was added, believe in yourself. His image evolved with a vibrant red and Dalo color scheme, iconic entrances that featured shirt ripping and flexing, and a signature match formula that thrilled crowds. Most of Hogan's matches followed a familiar script. He would start strong, lose momentum to his monstrous opponent, and then dramatically hulk up, feeding off the crowd's energy, becoming seemingly invincible and launching into a predictable but electric finishing sequence. A stern point at the opponent with fans yelling, "You!" A finger wag, 3 punches, an Irish whip, pie big boot hand. Finally, the running leg drop for the win. This pattern became a WWF staple throughout the 1980s, captivating millions and making Hogan a household name. Behind the scenes, however, legal complexities were forming. In 1984, due to the striking similarities between Hogan's character and Marvel Comics, The Incredible Hulk quitclaim agreement was signed between Titan Sports, Marvel, and Hogan himself. Marvel secured the trademarks to Hulk, Hogan, Hulkster, and Hulkamania for 20 years. As part of the deal, Titan Sports agreed not to refer to Hogan as Incredible, or simply Hulk. Hogan could not wear purple or green. Marvel received 0.9% of merchandise revenue, bearing Hogan's name, $100 for every Hogan match, and 10% of Hogan's other revenue related to the name. This arrangement even extended to Hogan's later run in WCW, company owned by Turner Broadcasting, which merged with Time Warner, Marvel's rival company DC Comics parent. By that time, Hogan had reinvented himself under the Hollywood Hogan moniker, helping WCW avoid direct licensing conflicts with Marvel. Marvel later playfully acknowledged the situation in Marvel Comics Presents number 45, 1988, where the Incredible Hulk tossed a wrestler resembling Hogan through a stadium roof for picking the wrong name. With Hulkamania in full swing, Hogan would soon dominate pop culture in ways no other wrestler had before, and usher in a golden age for the WWF. The rise of a pop culture phenomenon, Owls. 1984 to 1987. Over the next year, Hulk Hogan skyrocketed to fame, becoming the undisputed face of professional wrestling. With Vince McMahon's vision to expand the WWF into a pop culture juggernaut, Hogan became the centerpiece of the company's national rise. One of the key promotional tools was the Rock and Wrestling Connection, partnership with MTV that brought wrestling to a wider mainstream audience. The result? Sold-out arenas, record-setting pay-per-view buys, and massive television ratings. The climax of this movement was the inaugural WrestleMania, held on March 31, 1985. Hogan teamed with his real-life friend, TV and film star Mr. T, to face off against his on-screen nemesis Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. The match ended dramatically when Cowboy Bob Orton, aligned with Piper and Orndorff, inadvertently cost his team the win by accidentally knocking out Orndorff with his arm cast in a botched top rope attack intended for Hogan. Shortly after, Hogan defended his WWF World Heavyweight Championship against Orton on the debut episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, winning by disqualification. This marked the beginning of a series of televised triumphs that only furthered his legendary status. By the mid-1980s, Hogan wasn't just wrestling's biggest star, he was a mainstream celebrity. He became the most requested personality of the 1980s through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and graced the covers of Sports Illustrated, the only wrestler ever featured on the cover as of 2013, TV Guide, and People magazine. He also made appearances on The Tonight Show and had his own animated series on CBS, titled Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. During this run, he even co-hosted Saturday Night Live on March 30, 1985, bringing wrestling to late-night comedy. From 1991 to 1993, Hogan's WWF Run 900 number hotline was a TNT's top-performing line, showing just how invested fans were in his every move. He continued the hotline during his transition to WCW years later. Hogan's dominance in the ring continued as well. On the second Saturday night's main event, he defeated Nikolai Volkov in a flag match. At the Wrestling Classic pay-per-view, he defended his title against Roddy Piper, winning by disqualification after Bob Orton again interfered this time, hitting Hogan with his cast. Throughout 1986, Hogan faced and defeated a string of high-profile challengers, including Terry Funk Don Murakoking Kong Bundy in a steel cage match at WrestleMania, to Paul Orndorff, Hercules Hernandez, in the fall of 1986. Hogan occasionally participated in comedy-style matches, donning a mask and joining the Machines as Hulk. Machine, a parody inspired by Japan's super strong machine persona. But the true turning point came at WrestleMania 3 in 1987. Hogan was booked to defend his championship against Andre the Giant, the sport's legendary and seemingly unbeatable Giant, who had been billed as undefeated for 15 years. The feud began with a subtle split between the two icons. Hogan was awarded a trophy for being champion for 3 consecutive years, followed shortly by Andre receiving a smaller trophy for his undefeated streak. The tension escalated when Andre walked out during Hogan's speech, followed by an infamous confrontation on Piper's Pit, where Bobby the Brain Heenan introduced Andre as his new client. In a shocking moment, Andre challenged Hogan to a match at WrestleMania 3 and tore Hogan's shirt and crucifix off his chest. On March 29, 1987, in front of a record-breaking crowd at the Pontiac Silverdome, the two titans collided. In the most iconic moment of the event, and perhaps in wrestling history, Hogan body-slammed a 520-pound Andre the Giant in what would become known as the body slam heard around the world. Moments later, he delivered his signature leg drop and pinned Andre for the win, successfully retaining the WWF Championship. This victory solidified Hogan not just as wrestling's top star, but as an enduring symbol of American pop culture. International renown 1985-1988 Also Andre the Giant Hulk Hogan rivalry by 1985. Hulk Hogan had fully cemented himself as the face of professional wrestling. Under Vince McMahon's bold vision to turn the WWF into a global entertainment powerhouse, Hogan became the central figure in the Rock and Wrestling Connection, a collaboration with MTV that brought wrestling into the mainstream like never before. This surge in popularity led to record-breaking live event attendance, soaring pay-per-view numbers, unprecedented TV ratings. The pinnacle of this movement came on March 31, 1985, the launch of the first-ever WrestleMania. Hogan teamed with real-life friend and Hollywood star Mr. T to face his arch-rival Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff in the main event. The match ended dramatically when Cowboy Bob Orton, at ringside for Piper and Orndorff, unintentionally cost his team the match. A top rope attempt with his arm cast intended for Hogan went wrong, striking Orndorff instead and handing the victory to Hogan and Mr. T. Shortly after, Hogan successfully defended his WWF World Heavyweight Championship against Orton on the first episode of Saturday night's main event, winning by disqualification. His popularity skyrocketed even further from there. By the mid-1980s, Hogan had transcended wrestling and become a household name. He was the most requested celebrity of the decade for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, bringing joy to countless children. He graced the covers of Sports Illustrated, the only pro wrestler to do so as of 2013, TV Guide, and People magazine, while also making appearances on The Tonight Show. He even had his own Saturday morning cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, airing on CBS in this period. Hogan also co-hosted Saturday Night Live on March 30, 1985, solidifying his crossover appeal. From 1991 to 1993, the 900 number hotline he ran in the WWF became the most successful premium phone line operated by AT&T. He would continue the hotline during his time with WCW years. Later, back in the ring, Hogan continued to dominate. On Saturday night's main event too, he defeated Nikolai Volkov in a patriotic flag match. At the Wrestling Classic pay-per-view, Hogan once again clashed with Piper. He retained his title via disqualification after interference from Bob Orton, who struck Hogan with his infamous cast in 1986. Hogan defended the championship against an impressive lineup of challengers, including Terry Funk Doane, Mark Hogan, Kong Bundy, and a steel cage at WrestleMania. To Paul Orndorff Hercules Hernandez in comedic twists that fall, Hogan occasionally appeared as Hulk Machine, a masked member of the Machines parodying NJPW's Super Strong Machine character in tag team matches. But it was WrestleMania 3 in 1987 that marked the most iconic moment of Hogan's career. That year, a new storyline unfolded. Hogan was honored with a large trophy for holding the WWF title for 3 consecutive years. His close friend Andre the Giant came out to congratulate him. Shortly afterward, Andre was given a smaller trophy, recognizing his alleged 15-year undefeated streak in the WWF. During Hogan's speech congratulating Andre, the Giant walked off silently, planting seeds of tension. Things escalated on Piper's Pit, where Bobby the Brain Heenan revealed himself as Andre's new manager. In a shocking turn, Andre challenged Hogan to a title match at WrestleMania 3 and tore off Hogan's shirt and crucifix necklace, leaving fans stunned. The epic showdown took place on March 29, 1987, in front of over 93,000 fans at the Pontiac Silverdome, the match for the ages. Hogan performed the unthinkable body slamming the 520-pound Andre in what would be dubbed the body slam heard around the world. Moments later, Hogan sealed the victory with his signature leg drop, obtaining the WWF World Heavyweight Championship and solidifying his place as a global icon. The Mega Powers Era 1988-1989, the formation of the Mega Powers became one of the most iconic storylines in wrestling history, uniting Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth. It all began after Hogan lost the WWF World Heavyweight Championship to Andre the Giant in a controversial match on the main event in a shocking twist. Andre pinned Hogan after a belly-to-belly suplex even though Hogan's shoulder was clearly off the mat. Referee Earl Hebner, secretly replacing his twin brother Dave, awarded the match to Andre, who then immediately surrendered the title to the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. WWF President Jack Tunney ruled the transaction invalid, vacating the title for the first time in WWF history. This led to the WWF Championship Tournament at WrestleMania 4, where Hogan and Andre received a bye into the quarterfinals. Their match ended in a double disqualification, but Hogan would return later that night to support Savage, helping him defeat DiBiase in the main event to win the championship. Thus, the Mega Powers were born. Throughout the rest of 1988, Hogan and Savage alongside Miss Elizabeth fought side by side against DiBiase and Andre, dubbed the Mega Bucks, winning the first ever SummerSlam main event. Their next major rivalry came against the Twin Towers, Akeem and Big Boss Man, managed by Slick. Hogan also briefly experimented with a new gimmick, the War Bonnet, a red and yellow gladiator helmet. It was short-lived, but notably helped Hogan hand Bad News Brown his first WWF loss at Madison Square Garden. The Mega Powers explode by early 1989. The unity of the Mega Powers began to unravel. Savage grew increasingly jealous and suspicious of Hogan's friendship with Miss Elizabeth. Tensions reached a boiling point at the 1989 Royal Rumble, where Hogan accidentally eliminated Savage while trying to toss out Bad News Brown. Though they reconciled briefly, the cracks were showing. The final straw came during a tag team match against the Twin Towers on the main event 2. When Elizabeth was accidentally knocked unconscious, Hogan carried her backstage for medical attention, leaving Savage to fend for himself. Upon Hogan's return, a furious Savage slapped him and stormed out, leading to a backstage attack that officially ended their alliance. The two clashed at WrestleMania V, where Hogan defeated Savage to reclaim the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. WWF Championship reigns and feuds 1989 to 1993. During Hogan's second reign, he starred in No Holds Barred, which led to a storyline rivalry with his movie co-star Tom Zeus Lister Jr. Zeus. Portraying his on-screen character, wanted revenge for being overshadowed by Hogan. They clashed in tag matches, including SummerSlam and Survivor Series, where Hogan emerged victorious. The feud ended at the no-holds-barred pay-per-view in late 1989. In 1990, Hogan won the Royal Rumble, becoming the first man to do so. He then faced Intercontinental Champion, The Ultimate Warrior, in a highly anticipated title match at WrestleMania VI. Hogan lost cleanly, passing the torch to Warrior in what many viewed as a symbolic moment in wrestling history. Hogan briefly stepped away but returned after Earthquake attacked him on the Brother Love show, injuring his ribs. WWF launched a fan campaign encouraging viewers to send letters urging Hogan to return. Many received a signed postcard in response. By SummerSlam, Hogan was back and defeated Earthquake in their feud, adding "Believe in Yourself" as his fourth demandment, and earning the nickname The Immortal. In 1991, Hogan became the first back-to-back Royal Rumble winner at WrestleMania 7. He defeated the controversial pro-Iraq character SGT Slaughter to win his third WWF title. Later that year, Ric Flair, fresh from the NWA, debuted in WWF and challenged Hogan. But before they could meet in a title match, Hogan lost the belt to The Undertaker at Survivor Series. After a controversial rematch win at this Tuesday in Texas, the title was vacated once more due to outside interference. The vacant title was up for grabs at the 1992 Royal Rumble. Hogan, entering late at number 26, was eliminated by Sid Justice. Gin. Retaliation, Hogan helped eliminate Sid, allowing Ric Flair to win the match and the championship. This sparked a feud between Hogan and Sid, which led to a messy disqualification win for Hogan at WrestleMania 8, followed by an iconic save by the returning Ultimate Warrior. Steroid allegations and temporary exit. Around this time, Hogan faced public backlash amid steroid distribution allegations involving wrestling Dr. George Zahorian. Although Hogan denied involvement on the Arsenio Hall show, the scandal prompted him to step away from the WWF spotlight in mid-1992. Return and final WWF run, 1993. Hogan returned in early 1993 to support Brutus Beefcake in his feud against Money, Inc., Ted DiBiase and IRS, forming the Megamaniacs. Managed by Jimmy Hart, they challenged for the tag titles at WrestleMania 9, but lost by disqualification. Later that night, in a shocking turn, Hogan returned for an impromptu title match after Yokozuna defeated Bret Hart and defeated Yokozuna in under a minute to win his fifth WWF Championship. However, his final reign was short-lived. Again, of the Ring 1993, Yokozuna defeated Hogan in a rematch, thanks to a fireball shot by a Japanese photographer, Harvey Whippleman, in disguise. Hogan left WWF shortly after and finished out his contract with International House Shows officially, departing by the end of 1993. Return to NJPW 1993. 1994, Hulk Hogan returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, on May 3, 1993, as the reigning WWF champion and defeated IWGP Heavyweight Champion the Great Muta in a highly anticipated dream match at Wrestling Dontaku. He faced Muta again on September 26, this time under Muta's real name, Keiji Muto. Hogan also teamed with Muto and Masahiro Chono to wrestle the Hellraisers. His final match in Japan occurred on January 4, 1994, at Battlefield, where he defeated Tatsumi Fujinami. World Championship Wrestling 1994-2000 WCW World Heavyweight Champion 1994-1996. Hogan began appearing on WCW television in early 1994, culminating in his official signing with the company on June 11 at a ceremony at Disney MGM Studios. With Jimmy Hart as his manager, Hogan made his in-ring debut at Bash at the Beach, defeating Ric Flair to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. He continued his feud with Flair through several high-profile matches, including a steel cage bout at Halloween Havoc, where Hogan emerged victorious. He also feuded with Vader, defeating him in a strap match at Uncensored and again inside a steel cage at Bash at the Beach in 1995. Hogan's record-setting 469-day title reign ended at Halloween Havoc when he lost to the Giant by disqualification. Due to a contract clause, the title was declared vacant after the controversial finish. At World War III, Hogan was eliminated from the 60-man Battle Royal due to interference from the Giant. Hogan would go on to defeat the Giant in a cage match at Super Brawl VI. In 1996, he reunited with Randy Savage as the Mega Powers to feud with the Alliance to end Hulkamania, defeating them in a Doomsday cage match at Uncensored New World Order 1996 to 1999 at Bash at the Beach 1996. Hogan shocked the wrestling world by turning heel for the first time in over a decade. He aligned with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall to form the New World Order NWO. Adopting a new persona, Hollywood Hogan, sporting black attire and a dyed black beard, Hogan captured the WCW World Heavyweight Championship at Hog Wild by defeating the Giant and rechristened the title as the Unwoo title. Hogan regained the title from Lex Luger at Road Wild after losing it briefly on Nitro. He later lost the title to Sting at Starrcade, 1997, after a controversial finish involving Bret Hart. The championship was vacated again and ultimately reclaimed by Sting at Super Brawl 8. Hogan's feud with Randy Savage escalated, culminating in a no-contest cage match at Uncensored 1998. Hogan won the title back from Savage the night after Spring Stampede with help from Bret Hart. This event split the Unwo into two factions: NWO Hollywood, led by Hogan, and NWO Wolfpack, led by Nash. Hogan later dropped the title to Goldberg on the July 6, 1998 episode of Nitro. In late 1998, Hogan engaged in celebrity matches, including tag matches with Dennis Rodman and a bout against the Warrior at Halloween Havoc. He then announced his retirement and a faux presidential campaign on The Tonight Show, both of which were stunts. On January 4, 1999, Hogan returned to defeat Kevin Nash in the infamous Finger Poke of Doom incident and win his 5th WCW World Heavyweight Championship. He lost it to Ric Flair at Uncensored in a First Blood steel cage match. After recovering from injuries, Hogan returned in July 1999 as a babyface, reclaimed the title from Savage, and later defeated Nash in a retirement match at Road Wild. Final WCW run and controversy 1999-2000 after a brief absence. Hogan returned for a title match at Halloween Havoc 1999, but lay down for Sting in a worked shoot. Hogan later said the moment reflected poor creative direction. In July 2000, at Bash at the Beach, Hogan was set to face Jeff Jarrett for the WCW title. A real-life dispute with Vince Russo over creative control led to Jarrett laying down in the ring, prompting Hogan to sarcastically pin him. After the match, Russo returned and publicly fired Hogan, criticizing him in a scathing promo. This led to Hogan filing a defamation lawsuit, which was dismissed in 2002. Eric Bischoff later revealed that while Hogan's win was planned, Russo's unscripted promo was not. This event marked Hogan's final WCW appearance. Post-WCW and return to WWE 2001 to 2003, after WCW folded in 2001. Hogan had knee surgery and briefly wrestled in Jimmy Hart's XWF promotion, defeating Curt Hennig. Feeling ready to return full-time, he rejoined WWE in February 2002. WWE return and WrestleMania X8. Hogan returned at No Way Out 2002, with Hall and Nash as the original NWO. He feuded with The Rock, leading to their iconic match at WrestleMania X8, where The Rock emerged victorious despite heavy crowd support for Hogan. Afterward, Hogan turned face and reverted to his Red Ninja persona. He won the undisputed WWE Championship from Triple H at Backlash, becoming the last WWF champion before the company rebranded to WWE. He lost the title to The Undertaker at Judgment Day, and later feuded with Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, whom he lost to via technical submission only, the second wrestler to defeat Hogan this way. Mr. America and WWE Exit 2003. Hogan returned in 2003 and defeated Vince McMahon in a street fight at WrestleMania 19. He then appeared as Mr. America, masked version of himself. The character denied being Hogan, despite obvious similarities, and feuded with Roddy Piper. After WWE aired footage of Hogan unmasking as Mr. America, he was fired in the storyline. In reality, Hogan had quit due to creative frustrations and pay issues. Second return to NJPW 2003. In October 2003, Hulk Hogan returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling, defeating Masahiro Chono at Ultimate Crush 2 in the Tokyo Dome. Shortly after leaving WWE, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling TNA attempted to recruit Hogan. Jeff Jarrett tagged him on air in Japan to set up a match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But Hogan's recurring knee and hip issues prevented the bout from happening. Third return to WWE to 2005 to 2007, Hogan was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005 by Sylvester Stallone. At WrestleMania 21, he rescued Eugene from an attack by Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. The following night on Raw, he teamed with Shawn Michaels to defeat Hassan and Daivari at Backlash. Later that year, Hogan feuded with Michaels, culminating in a match at SummerSlam 2005, which Hogan won. In 2006, Hogan returned to induct Mean Gene Okerlund into the WWE Hall of Fame and appeared with his daughter Brooke on Saturday night's main event, leading to a feud with Randy Orton. Their match at SummerSlam 2006 marked Hogan's final WWE match. Although there were talks of a match against John Cena at WrestleMania 25, it never materialized. Memphis Wrestling 2007-2008, after parting ways with WWE, Hogan planned to face Jerry Lawler in Memphis Wrestling. WWE blocked the match due to contractual restrictions involving Lawler's affiliation with NBC. A lawsuit followed, and Paul White Big Show replaced Lawler. Hogan defeated White at the PMG Clash of Legends event on April 27, 2007, Hulkamania Tour 2009. In November 2009, Hogan headlined the Hulkamania Let the Battle Begin tour in Australia. Facing Ric Flair in the main event of each show, Hogan won all 4 matches, marking their final in-ring confrontations. TNA turned 2009 to 2013, business partner and in-ring return to 2009-2010. Hogan signed with TNA in October 2009 and debuted on January 4, 2010, during a special Impact episode. He reunited briefly with NWO members but refused a full reunion. Teaming with Abyss, Hogan returned to the ring to defeat Ric Flair and AJ Styles at Lockdown. Team Hogan defeated Team Flair in a lethal Lockdown match. Immortal Faction and Heel turned 2010-2011. After turning heel at Bound for Glory 2010, Hogan helped Jeff Hardy win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He and Eric Bischoff took control of TNA, forming the Immortal Stable. Hogan later underwent spinal fusion surgery and returned in 2011, feuding with Sting. At Bound for Glory 2011, Hogan lost to Sting and turned face again after helping him fight off Immortal. Feud with Aces and Eights. 2012, 2013, and 2012. Hogan returned to in-ring action briefly during TNA's UK tour. He became general manager and later began feuding with the Aces and Eights, a masked faction. The group attacked Hogan, leading to a brief hiatus. Upon his return, Hogan was pulled into a storyline involving his daughter Brooke and Bully Ray. Despite initially opposing the relationship, he walked her down the aisle only for Ray to reveal himself as Aces and Eights leader at Lockdown 2013. After winning the TNA World Championship, Hogan later reconciled with Sting and rejected an offer from Dixie Carter to become her business partner. This exit marked his official departure from TNA after his contract expired in October 2013. Fourth return to WWE 2001 for 2015, Hulk Hogan returned to WWE on February 24, 2014. Making his first in-ring appearance since 2007, he was brought back to promote the launch of the WWE Network and appeared later on the March 24th episode of Raw to introduce Arnold Schwarzenegger and Joe Manganiello, who were promoting their movie Sabotage at WrestleMania 30 in April 2014. Hogan served as the official host. He kicked off the show with a promo where he famously mixed up the venue, calling the Mercedes-Benz Superdome the Silver Dome, a slip that became a running joke throughout the night. He was soon joined in the ring by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And The Rock and the three icons shared beers in a crowd-popping moment. Later that night, Hogan reunited with Mr. T, Roddy Piper, and Paul Orndorff, paying homage to the inaugural WrestleMania. In 2015, Hogan continued to make high-profile appearances. On February 27th, he was honored at Madison Square Garden during a live event dubbed Hulk Hogan Appreciation Night, where a commemorative banner was raised in his honor. He returned to Raw on March 23rd, and alongside Snoop Dogg, humiliated Curtis Axel, who was parodying Hogan's legacy with his Axelmania gimmick. Hogan also inducted his longtime rival and fellow legend, Macho Man Randy Savage, into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2015 the next night at WrestleMania 31. Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, representing the NWO, interfered in the Sting vs. Triple H match, going head-to-head with members of D-Generation X in a nostalgic faction vs. faction showdown, racism scandal, and WWE Departure 2015 in July 2015. National Enquirer and Radar Online released excerpts from a 2007 sex tape in which Hogan was caught on tape using multiple racial slurs, including the N-word, and making deeply offensive remarks about his daughter dating a black man. Hogan also admitted on tape, "I guess we're all a little racist." The backlash was swift. Hogan issued a public apology through People magazine, stating, 8 years ago, I used offensive language. It was unacceptable. I apologize. On July 24th, WWE terminated its contract with Hogan, emphasizing its commitment to inclusivity. Hogan's lawyer later claimed that Hogan chose to resign. WWE quickly erased nearly all traces of Hogan from its platforms, including his Hall of Fame page, merchandise listings, and promotional content. He was removed from the upcoming WWE 2K16 video game. His downloadable content from WWE 2K15 was pulled from sale. Major retailers like Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, and Mattel followed suit by pulling all Hogan merchandise. A few days later, Radar Online reported additional leaked audio in which Hogan used homophobic slurs and made further racist remarks in a phone call to his son, Nick, during his jail time in 2008. In that call, Hogan reportedly hoped neither of them would be reincarnated as black men. In an August 31st interview with ABC, Hogan pleaded for forgiveness, blaming his comments on growing up in a racially biased neighborhood in Tampa. However, several former neighbors publicly disputed his claims. Reaction from the wrestling community. The scandal divided the wrestling world. Some African-American wrestlers Hogan had worked with, like Virgil, Dennis Rodman, and Kamala, defended him. Others, especially those active in WWE at the time, expressed disappointment and hurt. Mark Henry praised WWE's no-tolerance policy, while Booker T called Hogan's comments shocking and unfortunate. Despite the controversy, some, including The Rock, Mr. T, Big E, and D'Angelo Dinero, later expressed forgiveness, citing Hogan's decades-long contributions to the industry. When Hogan returned backstage in 2018, he attempted to personally apologize to the WWE roster. However, wrestlers such as The New Day, Titus O'Neil, Shelton Benjamin, and JTG criticized the apology, feeling it lacked sincerity. Many noted that Hogan seemed more concerned with warning others about being recorded than showing genuine remorse. Fifth return to WWE 201-82025 on July 15, 2018. Hogan was quietly reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame. He made his on-screen return on November 2nd at Crown Jewel 2018, serving as the event's host. In early 2019, Hogan appeared on Raw to deliver an emotional tribute to his longtime friend, Mean Gene Okerlund, who had passed away days earlier. Later that year, Hogan inducted Brutus the Barber Beefcake into the WWE Hall of Fame. And in 2020, Hogan was inducted a second time, this time as part of the NWO, alongside Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman. Hogan returned to host WrestleMania 35 and WrestleMania 37, teaming up with Alexa Bliss and Titus O'Neil, respectively. He also appeared at Crown Jewel 2019, recaptained a team against Team Flair in a special match. In his final WWE appearances, Hogan was seen alongside Jimmy Hart on special episodes like Raw is XXX and WWE's 2025 debut episode on Netflix. During the Netflix premiere, he was loudly booed by the crowd, marking a stark contrast to his earlier years and symbolizing his complex legacy. This would ultimately be his last appearance at a professional wrestling event. Tributes and legacy by the time of his passing in July 2025. Hulk Hogan was widely regarded as one of the most iconic and influential figures in the history of professional wrestling. His larger-than-life persona helped transform the WWF, now WWE, into a global entertainment powerhouse during the 1980s and beyond. Wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer once said, "Can't possibly overrate his significance in the history of the business. He sold more tickets to wrestling shows than any man who ever lived." Hogan headlined countless pay-per-views, sold out arenas worldwide, and brought pro wrestling into the mainstream like no one before him. Fellow wrestler Cody Rhodes has often called Hogan's WrestleMania X8 match against The Rock the greatest match in wrestling history, saying it perfectly captured the essence of what professional wrestling is meant to be. While his impact was undeniable, not all assessments were glowing. Bret Hart, himself a WWE Hall of Famer, frequently criticized Hogan's in-ring abilities, once saying in 2021 that Hogan didn't know a headlock from a headlamp. However, Hart also acknowledged Hogan's magnetic presence, saying when he walks into a room, the whole room stops. Just see it, his arms were as big as someone's legs. Interestingly, Hogan himself once ranked Ric Flair above him, stating that Flair was the greatest wrestler of all time. Yet others disagreed. In a 2023 podcast, Chris Jericho stated, "Hogan is a better worker than Flair, for me. He knew exactly who he was, whether babyface or heel. It was one of my favorite periods in my career." Plans for a biopic starring Chris Hemsworth were announced in 2019, but were officially shelved in 2024. Still, Hogan's legacy remained firmly embedded in popular culture after his death. On July 24, 2025, tributes poured in from across the wrestling world. Stars like The Rock, John Cena, The Undertaker, Ric Flair, and Triple H paid their respects, as did organizations including WWE, NJPW, TNA, and NWA. His impact even reached outside the ring, with figures like Sylvester Stallone, UFC President Dana White, and US President Donald Trump publicly honoring his memory. WWE dedicated the July 25th episode of SmackDown to Hogan, featuring a 10-bell salute and a full tribute show. However, coverage of his death also revisited the more controversial aspects of his legacy, namely his backstage politics, racially charged comments, and strong political affiliations, including vocal support for Donald Trump. Business ventures and endorsements outside the ring, Hogan ventured into a variety of businesses with mixed success. In 1995, he opened Pastamania, a restaurant in Minnesota's Mall of America. Despite heavy promotion, including on WCW's debut episode of Monday Nitro, the restaurant closed within a year. Though Hogan later claimed he passed up the George Foreman grill endorsement by accident, that story remains unverified. Instead, he lent his name to a blender, Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer, an energy drink, Hogan Energy, and a line of microwavable burgers sold at Walmart, Hulkster Burgers. He also launched a short-lived line of grills that were recalled for safety concerns. In 2012, Hogan opened Hogan's Beach, a restaurant near Tampa, which later dropped his name in 2015. He then launched Hogan's Hangout in Clearwater Beach. In 2024, expanded his brand into beverages with Real American Beer. Finances and politics. Hogan's financial picture saw dramatic swings. In 2008, his net worth was estimated at $30 million. But by 2011, claimed his divorce and lifestyle had drained hundreds of millions and nearly bankrupted him. Politically, Hogan was an outspoken supporter of Donald Trump and spoke at the 2024 EOC Republican National Convention in a major Trump rally at Madison Square Garden. Licensing and tech. In 2007, Hogan transferred all trademarks related to his image to his company, Hogan Holdings Limited. These included trademarks like Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Hulkster, and HULKAPEDIA.com. Over the years, he pursued multiple digital ventures. He licensed a mobile game titled Hulkamania Wrestling, launched a nutrition line, and starred in ads for Rent-A-Center and American Idol appearances. In 2013, he launched a web hosting service, Hostomania, promoted with a viral parody video. Later years and other media. In his later years, Hogan remained connected to wrestling and entertainment. He co-founded Real American Freestyle in 2025, serving as the promotions commissioner, and appeared in the documentary WrestleMania 9, The Spectacle. Released on Peacock that April, his beer brand also became a sponsor of Arena Football 1. As an actor, Hogan appeared in numerous films and TV shows, most notably Rocky III, No Holds Barred, and family movies like Mr. Nanny and Suburban Commando. He had his own series Thunder in Paradise, and made cameos in Muppets from Space, Gremlins 2, and The A-Team. He even lent his voice to animated projects, including Adult Swim's China, Ill in 2011. Reality television and hosting. Hulk Hogan's influence extended well beyond the wrestling ring and into the world of reality television. On July 10, 2005, VH1 premiered Hogan Knows Best, a reality show that gave fans an inside look at Hogan's home life with then-wife Linda and their children, Brooke and Nick. The series offered a mix of humor, drama, and family tension and quickly became a hit. In July 2008, the success of the show led to a spin-off, Brooke Knows Best, which focused on Hogan's daughter Brooke. She pursued her music career and independence from the family spotlight. Hogan also stepped into hosting roles. 2008, he co-hosted the reboot of American Gladiators on NBC, bringing his signature energy to the physically intense competition. That same year, he hosted and judged Hulk Hogan's Celebrity Championship Wrestling, a short-lived reality series where celebrities trained as pro wrestlers under his guidance. In 2010, A&E aired a special documentary titled Finding Hulk Hogan, which chronicled his personal and professional struggles. Offering a more introspective look at the man behind the persona, Hogan was also tapped as a judge for the 6th season of WWE's Tough Enough in 2015, sitting alongside Paige and Daniel Bryan. However, he was removed mid-season following the public fallout from a scandal involving leaked racist comments. They replaced him with The Miz. Music and radio, though, known for slams and leg drops, Hogan also tried his hand at music. In 1995, he released a CD titled Hulk Rules. It's credited to Hulk Hogan and the Wrestling Boot Band, which featured contributions from Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart, Hogan's then-wife Linda, and musician J.J. McGuire. Despite critical panning, the album surprisingly reached No. 12 on the Billboard Top Kid Audio chart. His musical ventures didn't stop there. In 1993, Hogan teamed up with Green Gel for a cover of Gary Glitter's glam rock hit, I'm the Leader of the Gang, I Am. He also made a guest appearance in Dolly Parton's music video for Headlock on My Heart. It's featured on her variety show Dolly during the late 1980s. In the world of radio, Hogan was a frequent guest on Bubba the Love Sponge's Shock Jock radio program, and even served as the best man at Bubba's wedding in January 2007. He later launched his own satellite radio show, Hogan Uncensored, which debuted on March 12, 2010, on Sirius Satellite Radio's Howard 101 channel, giving fans an unfiltered version of his thoughts and stories. Personal life and legal controversies. Hogan in the spotlight. By the late 2000s, Hulk Hogan had become just as well known for his off-screen drama as his wrestling legacy. From legal battles to highly publicized personal scandals, his life outside the ring was filled with controversy and courtroom appearances. Legal issues. The Belzer lawsuit in March 1985. Just days before the first ever WrestleMania, comedian Richard Belzer invited Hogan onto his cable TV talk show Hot Properties and asked him to demonstrate a wrestling move. Reluctantly, Hogan applied a guillotine chokehold that caused Belzer to lose consciousness. When Hogan let go, Belzer collapsed, striking his head on the floor and suffering a scalp laceration that required hospital treatment. Belzer filed a $5 million lawsuit, which was later settled out of court, while some sources claimed the settlement totaled $5 million split between Hogan and Vince McMahon. Belzer, later stated it was closer to $400,000. Testimony in the Vince McMahon steroid trial in 1994. Hogan testified in the federal steroid distribution trial of WWE Chairman Vince McMahon. With legal immunity, Hogan admitted to using anabolic steroids since 1976 to build muscle, but denied that McMahon had ever sold or pressured him to use them. His testimony weakened the prosecution's case significantly, and McMahon was later found not guilty during his time on the stand. Hogan also revealed that he and fellow wrestler King Kong Bundy had warned McMahon about Jesse Ventura's attempts to unionize wrestlers in 1986. Hogan downplayed the issue, stating Vince already knew about it. Ventura was just running his mouth as usual. Sexual assault allegation and extortion claiming January 1996. Hogan was accused of sexual assault by a woman who claimed the incident occurred during WCW's first Nitro taping at the Mall of America. In 1995, she alleged Hogan forced her to perform oral sex in his hotel room after she helped sell merchandise for his Pastamania restaurant. The woman also claimed Hogan had raped another individual. Her lawyer offered to settle the case privately, prompting Hogan to countersue for extortion. Wrestling legend Mean Gene Okerlund stated he was with Hogan all day and publicly denied the allegations. The woman filed a countersuit in 1997, but the matter eventually faded from public view. The Gawker sex tape scandal in 2012. A sex tape featuring Hogan and Heather Clemvin, the estranged wife of Hogan's friend and radio personality, Bubba the Love Sponge, was leaked online. Gawker published a clip of the tape, prompting Hogan to sue for invasion of privacy. In interviews, Hogan admitted the encounter was a bad choice and one of the lowest points of his life. Initially, Hogan filed a suit against Bubba and Heather Clem and later settled with Bubba, who issued a public apology. Hogan then turned his attention to Gawker Media, filing a $100 million lawsuit for defamation, emotional distress, invasion of privacy. On March 18, 2016, a Florida jury awarded Hogan $115 million in damages. Later, he gained control of the assets of Gawker editor A.J. Delario. Billionaire tech investor Peter Thiel, who had been outed by Gawker years earlier, helped fund Hogan's legal battle. In November 2016, Gawker settled with Hogan for $31 million, effectively ending the case and leading to the company's bankruptcy. Questionable claims and public perception. Hogan has often been accused of embellishing or fabricating stories from his past. As The Independent put it, he was a great believer in self-mythologizing. Among his more dubious claims, that Elvis Presley was a fan of his wrestling. Elvis died days after Hogan's first match, that wrestling in the US and Japan caused him to perform 400 days a year. Due to time zone differences, that The Undertaker injured his neck with a tombstone pile driver in 1991. Video evidence shows no head impact. That both the Rolling Stones and Metallica wanted him as their bass player. Metallica's Lars Ulrich later denied even knowing him. That he was offered the lead role in the 2008 film, The Wrestler, which director Darren Aronofsky stated was always intended for Mickey Rourke. Perhaps most infamously, Hogan once claimed to have a 10-inch penis during McNall. A radio interview. During the Gawker trial, he clarified under oath that he had made that claim as the character Hulk Hogan, not as Terry Bollea, admitting it wasn't true. Family life. Hulk Hogan married Linda Claridge in 1983, and together they had 2 children, Brooke and Nick. Their family life became the focus of the VH1 reality series Hogan Knows Best, offering fans a closer look at the wrestling legend's life off the mat. However, things began to unravel in 2007. Christiane Plant, colleague who had worked on Brooke's 2006 album, publicly claimed she had an affair with Hogan while the show was still filming. She was 33 at the time. The following year, Linda filed for divorce, later revealing she made the decision after learning about the alleged infidelity. Hogan, while acknowledging Linda's long-standing suspicions about his relationships with women, denied ever cheating. Their divorce was finalized in 2009. Hogan reportedly walked away with about 30% of the couple's assets, roughly $10 million. He later admitted that the breakup sent him into a deep depression and that he had contemplated suicide. He credited fellow American Gladiators co-star Layla Ali with pulling him back from the edge. In a 2010 interview, Hogan reflected on the collapse of his first marriage, stating that if he could do one thing differently, it would be to get divorced right after Nick was born. After the split, Hogan began dating Jennifer McDaniel. In early 2008, they got engaged in 2009 and were married the following year in Clearwater, Florida. The marriage lasted over a decade before Hogan confirmed in 2022 that the two had divorced. Not long after Hogan found love again. In July 2023, he got engaged to yoga instructor Sky Daly, proposing at a friend's wedding reception. The couple tied the knot just 2 months later. September 22, 2023. Faith and beliefs throughout his turbulent personal and professional life. Hulk Hogan has leaned heavily on his Christian faith. He has spoken openly about being saved at the age of 14 and crediting his relationship with Christ for helping him stay grounded in moments of darkness. "I could have self-destructed," he said in a 2007 interview, "but I took the high road because of my faith." In a powerful reaffirmation of that faith, Hogan was baptized on December 20, 2023, at Indian Rocks Baptist Church in Largo, Florida, public moment that marked a new chapter in his spiritual journey. Health struggles, years of intense physical punishment in the ring took a serious toll on Hogan's body, especially his back. Decades of heavy weightlifting and the jarring impacts of wrestling matches eventually caught up with him. After multiple laser surgeries failed to resolve his pain, Hogan underwent traditional spinal fusion surgery in December 2010, though the procedure allowed him to return to work. It was not the end of his health battles. In 2013, Hogan filed a $50 million lawsuit against the Laser Spine Institute, accusing them of pushing him into 6 unnecessary and ineffective surgeries over a 19-month period, claimed the procedures offered only temporary relief and ultimately worsened his condition. Adding insult to injury, the institute had used his name and image in advertising without his permission. The Laser Spine Institute closed its doors in 2019. Passing of a legend on July 24, 2025. The world lost one of its most iconic wrestling figures when Hulk Hogan passed away from cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida. He was 71 years old. Hogan's death came just a month after he had undergone major spinal fusion surgery, a procedure that had been part of his long-running battle with chronic back issues. Despite online speculation, his wife Sky Hogan publicly denied that his passing was linked to a larger, undisclosed health crisis. In an interview with People magazine, longtime friend and wrestling manager Jimmy Hart shared heartfelt details about Hogan's final days. According to Hart, Hogan's health had taken a sudden and unexpected downturn overnight, though they had regularly met before Hogan's June 2025 surgery. Their in-person visits became limited after the procedure, primarily due to Hogan's careful efforts to avoid post-operative infections. He didn't want anyone bringing in so much as a cold. Hart explained. Despite the physical isolation, Hogan remained in contact with friends and family through phone calls. Hart continued to perform karaoke with Hogan's son Nick, and even spoke with Hogan over the phone the night before he died. Just 2 days prior, Hart had posted on social media that Hogan was doing great, though he later clarified that the update had been based on information provided by Hogan's assistant at the time. The suddenness of Hogan's passing left friends, fans, and the wrestling world in shock. A larger-than-life figure who had influenced generations, Hulk Hogan's legacy endures not only in the ring but also in the hearts of millions who grew up chanting his name.